unclear.
So you want to clarify whether a physical threat was made by the Chinese, is whether it's real or not, right?
Yes, because AP does not actually have that in quotes. They say
right, and they do say that different accounts could not be immediately reconciled. So
No.
the question needs to be asked and definitively established.
Yeah, it's not only AP who had a phone call conversation with Mr. Chen. And I can name you a few names, including one of their best friends, Miss Zhong Jinyan, who talked to Mr. Chen and his wife. They all said that the threat is real. The physical threat was real.
But how was that threat conveyed? Because these negotiations took place. Mr. Chen never met the Chinese side during the negotiations. All the messages were relayed by US officials. They say there was no threat. So how did you hear this threat and from whom?
It's a great question. I think you have to re-ask the U.S. officials.
There's a State Department briefing happening right now, and I'm half listening to it. And the same question is
Right, but that needs to be it. And there also, can I say respectfully, there's an artificial timeline here and deadline to get this all in as tidy a fashion as they can do it, seemingly finished before the big economic summit. That kind of pressure could have a positive outcome, but it could also have a disastrously negative one as well, where, for example, it's unclear whether or not the threat was made by U.S. officials, not by them, of course, conveying a Chinese threat, but also the idea that he wants to come to the United States. That can't be in the hurry-up offense here to get to the meeting on economic issues and other issues. And let me just say it, I chaired a hearing on Sudan last week. Part of my jurisdiction is Africa. And we're hoping that there'll be some robust focus on what's going on in South Sudan and in Khartoum, because China is playing often and has for years, a hugely negative role in arming Bashir both in Darfur and South Sudan. But again, the hurry up and the artificial timeline should not be done to the detriment of Chen Guangcheng and his family and those who assisted, like Hu Peirong. I do hope you'll all keep a real sharp eye on what happens to some of these brave individuals who helped him escape.
Yes, and let me ask, that gentleman from BBC. Was that did you see the statement from the State Department means the U.S. and China reached agreement that if Chen does not go to go out of the embassy and to go to the hospital, the Chinese will be allowed to, will be justified to not to have the family reunification and send them back to the village?
I'll just read that bit again to you if you like, Mr. Fu. The State Department says that they were told by Chinese officials that if Mr. Chen decided to stay in the embassy, then there would be no more negotiations on family reunification, and his family would be sent back to Shandong. So that was the threat that was made by the Chinese officials and was passed to Mr. Chen. But again, the Americans are saying he did not ask for asylum. So I don't know whether he changed his view on this after he left the embassy premises. Maybe he had second thoughts when he went to the hospital about this deal. Because that's, as far as the Americans are concerned, he never asked for asylum.
Yeah, did you hear that, Congressman Smith? Yeah, basically, the State Department said the U.S. conveyed a message by the Chinese government that, to Mr. Chen that if he does not agree to walk out of the U.S. embassy and the Chinese will terminate the negotiation, and will not allow him to have family reunification, and the family will be sent back to his hometown.
Well, with respect, the response from the United States government should be that we're all getting on planes, including and especially the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and the summit is off. Because if ever there was a test of U.S. commitment to human rights, it should have been at that precise moment when a threat of sending them back to a very potential cruel fate, very real threat, and if some of the other information turns out to be correct, maybe even the killing of Yuan, we should not operate and be intimidated by those kind of threats either. This summit that's going to take place very shortly is in both countries' self-interest. But sometimes you draw a line and you say, this man, the value of this individual for human rights, he personally and the causes that he has espoused, and his wife and his extended family are so high that we will terminate this meeting. And unfortunately, we conveyed that information to him, and it looks like the consequences that followed were that he felt that he had very little choice but to leave the embassy and go to the hospital. That's why I believe Bob Fu, based on what Chen is actually saying, reportedly saying, through many reliable individuals, including the Associated Press, he wants to leave China with his family.
For anyone, I think if we receive that kind of language, said if you don't walk out of the U.S. Embassy compound, your family members will be returned to that the cruel, the house arrest like hell in the past 7 years. Past 19 months, and anyone even receive half of that will call 911 in the U.S. Does that constitute a threat? That's absolutely a threat. What does it mean? I think that's totally unacceptable. If the U.S. under that pretext, knowingly. With that kind of threat, and still send him over to the Chinese hands, I think that even makes things worse. And I think we need because the State Department, when they brief our NGO, our group of NGO leaders on the conference call, they have never ever mentioned that at all. And it's only beautiful family reunion, happy picture. And I think we need to see the bottom of this, and what constitutes a threat. I think that's my point.
Bob, this is Molly with the LA Times. When you said the State Department gave a family reunion happy picture, was that in the call with Posner or the call with Samantha Power? And did they, either of them, address any of these concerns that you all are bringing up?
No, they basically, I myself actually asked that question in a matter of giving them sort of update. I said, do you guys know there has been already a credible threat against Mr. Chen, his family members, and I used the exact same language my friends, Zhong Jianyan and Tong Biao has sent to me, that they said we have no knowledge. We didn't know anything about this threat. And so...
This was Samantha Power, or who said we have no knowledge?
The White House legal counsel, Harold, what's his last name?
Harold Koh.
Harold Koh, and